Hi, my name is Domino, and I am a member of the media team on Team 1477 Texas Torque. And today I want to talk about the difference between good pictures and bad pictures. So first, let's talk about the importance of having a media team in general, whether it's one person just with a point-and-shoot camera taking whatever pictures they can, or a dedicated team of 4 to 5 members who do nothing but produce content every day, all day. It is very important to have a media team. This is because of the nature of FIRST. We spend a lot of time going out into the community and doing demonstrations and working with other teams to produce the best possible robots we can. And if we're not there as a media team to record all of this, it's as if it never happened. You can't prove that you did something if there's not photographic evidence of it. That's why it's so important to have at least one person taking pictures and videos whenever we go out and do things, because those kinds of pictures and videos are extremely valuable, whether you're doing chairman's presentations or creating video or whatever it is that your goal is for media. So let's start off by talking about ridiculous pictures, like this one of Safety Captain Claire during her chairman's presentation. We like to keep pictures like this, or at least I do, just because they're great for having on hand just for laughing. I mean, there are going to be days when you're super stressed out, and there's nothing like a picture of your mentor throwing his support to kryptonite to make those days better. Just make sure that these photos are kept in a separate folder from your professional content so that you don't get them mixed up. So next let's talk about how you can make your pictures better at the moment you take the picture. The first may seem fairly obvious, but it's still very important to have faces in your pictures. This is a great photo of Celia working on the robot. I have no idea what she's doing, but whatever it is, I'm sure she's doing a great job. However, you can't tell that it's Celia in the picture because you can't actually see her face. So this picture is essentially useless because it doesn't put a face on our team. It is not a personal picture. This is a slightly better example. There's 1.5 faces showing basically, but still we can do a lot better, not only to fix the white balance, but just to get this picture at a different angle. I know it can be hard to get an angle with a lot of faces because there are things like the arms on our robot that just prevent you getting a good picture without having like a giant piece of Lexan cutting someone's face in half. But really, it's important to try your best to get as many faces in a picture as possible to make it look like your team is made of humans. This is a great example, not just because it has a face in it, it's clearly a person working on the robot, but because James looks happy doing it. And that's very important, is making sure that your team doesn't just look like they're not happy about being at the lab 24/7. You want to put a happy face on your team, not just a face. Now, another thing that you can do to make your pictures look better just from the moment you take them is to try and get your team's logo in them as much as possible. For example, there was a day where we had a little practice meet with 3847 Spectrum and the Silent Cyborgs. And in this picture, you can clearly see members of Spectrum working with the robot, but these 3 guys off to the side are all members of Texas Torque, but you can't tell because they're not wearing our t-shirts. There's nothing that really identifies them as members of our team. So though this is a great example of teams working together and being professional about it, we can't use this picture for anything because it doesn't show us in our best light. This is another great example of that same kind of principle. This is actually a picture I took, and I was really happy about the way it looked because it's Spectrum's mentor working with Spectrum students and members of Texas Torque. However, once again, because, for example, this is a 610 hoodie, it's not clearly identifiable as members of Texas Torque in this picture. Therefore, we can't really do anything with that either. It's just very important to try and get as many things that identify your team as your team in a picture as possible. So now that you've taken pictures, you can go back through all of your folders and everything and start to weed pictures out. So one very simple way to go through this is to delete anything that has less than desirable lighting or lots and lots of blur. So it can be okay for pictures to be a little blurry in the sense that a game piece is very rarely going to be like held up in the air in perfect position. The game piece is probably always going to be a little bit blurry if you're taking pictures of the robot shooting. So in that sense, like, you can sharpen up the image a bit and be fine with it. But in a picture like this, where the subject, the little girl, is clearly very blurry and the game piece is blurry and the lighting out of the windows is just weird, this is the kind of picture I would go ahead and delete because you're going to have pictures that are more like this. Same event, same robot, But the difference is in this picture, every member of it is very clearly defined. The lighting is something that you could fix easily in Photoshop, just dim it down a little bit. This picture can be not only kept because it is high quality, but used over and over again as an example of us going out into the community and doing good work. Now, there are going to be times when pictures are completely unsalvageable. So at the Lone Star Regional this year, a lot of the Texas teams came together and provided shirts for the 2 Chinese teams that came to the regional. We did manage to get a couple pictures of Texas Torque members with the Chinese teams. However, all of those pictures were taken with, I think, like an iPhone camera or something, so they were very grainy, they were very poorly lit. I actually went in myself to Photoshop and tried to fix the pictures, and they were just completely unsalvageable. So what we choose to do instead is just a little bit of a compromise. When we talk about working with the Chinese teams, we use this picture instead. It's true that there's not a Texas Torque logo in it, however, it does present the members of Texas teams still in a positive light, working together with those Chinese teams to get them excited about not just only being involved in first, but being a rookie team on its way to improvement. So now that you've gone through and deleted the majority of the bad pictures, we can start talking about what makes a really good picture. Now, this is obviously not a great example, but one thing that I personally believe is very important is making sure that members of your team look safe while they're doing things. For example, you would not put a picture of your machine shop where no one is wearing safety glasses in a chairman's presentation, because the machine shop can be very unsafe, and that's the kind of situation where if you step in that room, you need to be wearing safety glasses. It's really about just presenting your team in the best possible light wherever you go. And by showing that you are safe, you not only make first judges happy, but you can show to sponsors that you're not just like crazy kids running around with power tools. You are really trying to act in a professional way. Another picture that I personally think is really good, and I am a little bit biased because this is a picture of me, is pictures with our mentors. You know, a lot of the time we focus on the work that the students are doing, unless it's for example, a Woody Flowers essay or something like that. But our mentors really are responsible for the growth of our teams, and it's very important that we also put not just us in the best possible light as students, but them, because they really are very important to any team. And this may seem obvious, but it's always great to have pictures with children. A lot of First is involved with, even with like Lego League and things like that, getting young people not just aware of STEM, but involved in things like First Lego League, where the kids can actively participate in engineering, basically. So this is a really great example. The robot is set in kiddie mode at this point, and our driver is helping really little kid play with the robot. You can't see in this picture. If the robot's in the picture, that's even better. But showing that we are going out into the community and getting young people excited about engineering and STEM technology is always good. So these pictures are from an event that we volunteered at. That's why you see all the little stuffed cats. This was at an EDC meet. So I really like pictures like these because although volunteering might not sound like a big deal, it can be very useful in chairman's presentations. And also, just as a side note, this event was like, we took all of these pictures on a stage, so they're incredibly well lit. This is obviously not the best photo, it's the one that I found first. But all of the pictures that we have from this EDC meet have the same great lighting. So although volunteering is not necessarily the biggest part of First, this is a good example of a photo you could use in a presentation to show that your team is helping the community in whatever way they can. And as always, it's nice to have happy team members. I know I showed this picture before, but this is one of the few examples I could find. Although we are very much about being a professional team and demonstrating that principle of gracious professionalism that First is about, we also want to show that the members of Texas Torque are actually excited about the work that they are doing and are happy to be spending all day at the lab. So smiles are always good.